Hello. Hi. I am not as dead tired as I was yesterday, but I am still quite tired because I am living out a food coma right now. It's fine. Everything's fine. I am going to have a bad time here because I'm already having a bad time at the first part of this courtroom. Surely I'm not gonna get a game over, right? Well, I mean, I won't let it because I'm gonna reload the saves, but I hope we don't have to come to that. Sup? Yeah, I don't know why I didn't expect a summation examination, because I don't think we had one at the start, but like, with this being the reasoning, that maybe? I don't know. I knew that was gonna happen. You shall get through this, Mr. Naruhodo, as we always do. And uncover some new truths along the way, I'm quite sure. Yes, I agree. I'm gonna have to appeal to the jurors as usual and see if I can persuade them to change their minds. Defense will now embark on the summation examination. Are you and your fellows ready to proceed, Mr. Foreman? We are, my lord. Very well. In that case, I ask you now to state clearly for all present to hear the grounds on which each of you have decided that the defendant is guilty of the crime of which he is charged. I have a feeling this is gonna be hard. I've known that woman for years. She'd never be an accomplice to anything. It's utter nonsense to think that those two would ever be conniving with one another. Oh dear, this is most troubling. But surely the waxwork the man stole has nothing to do with the coroner, is it? I have had my own problems with members of the police. I do not trust them much. I've seen no rigorous proof that this waxwork was ever inside the birdcage. It's conjecture. Accusing someone without right evidence? It's not a proper job, is it? I won't have it. Oh, yeah, it's not. It's, somewhat unsurprisingly, it seems the introduction of this waxwork model to the proceedings of polarized opinions. Given that its face is obscured and its build in no way resembles that of the victim, I can only applaud my learned friend's temerity at suggesting it as Mr. Asmon's body double. Yes, the applause is deafening. And yes, I know it seems extraordinary. But that's the point. That's why I have a strong feeling it's actually a greater clue than anyone yet realizes. What are you thinking, Mr. Naruhodo? I can't explain why at the moment. But I feel so there's a specific reason why it was used. Why it had to be this model. Really? A reason why nothing else would do, you mean? Yes, and I'm convinced. It's something far more significant than whether or not the model looks like the victim. Well, if that's the case, we must prevent the trial from ending prematurely at all costs. Yes, agreed. We have to find a way out of this. I am not finding a way out of this. We're gonna die. Because I'm still not convinced of my own reasoning. Hold it! The order of things seems to have changed around here for some reason. I'm a copper, lad. It's a copper's discretion to bend the rules sometimes when needs must. What's wrong with that? Where do I start? I've been working at the yard for 40-odd years. That's even more than I thought. We've only had a metropolitan police service in town for 70 years, you know. Of course, times have changed. The public didn't trust coppers back when I started. It was rough. We had to fight crime, and we had to fight to win the public's trust as well. And when we did, forensic science was in its infancy too, even more so than it is now. And she spearheaded the revolution. Dr. Sith, you mean? That's right. About 10 years ago now it was, when I was still a youngish Bobby on the beat. That's when she started making a name for herself as a top-class coroner. And now look at her, head of the forensics investigation team. And a woman, no less. Well, you won't hear me complain. It's what we all dreamt of back then, I tell you. Could you tell me without holding that gun in the air? We were all out to uphold justice, lad. Full of vim, we were full of vim. That's coming across loud and clear. Okay.
Hold it!
What sort of problems? Let's just say we've run into each other on numerous occasions while I've been performing on the streets. You glancing at this guy? Right, I see. Obviously, artists such as myself cannot appear on stage as we work in close proximity to our audiences. So we perform our great magic in parks, on street corners, and the like. The police use any excuse to make our lives difficult. Oh, that... I was about to say, which one's the pursue button? Do you have something to say in response to that, Mr. Ottermole? Who are you calling a mass murderer? Sorry, my mistake. I got confused because I heard you look like him. I don't look anything like the man. You want to be locked up, Sonny? Thanks, Mr. Sholmes. Perhaps we could move on. I was really wondering if you had something you wanted to add in response to what juror number 3 just said. And clearly you do. Back in my day, back in the good old days, it wasn't like this. What was it like, sir? We worked our fingers to the bone to earn the public's trust, we did. And by Jove, we've earned it. People respected us back then. Respected you? No one would have called a coroner into question in these days. A coroner's report was the hallmark of an investigation done right. Especially when Dr. Courtney Stevens put her name on it. She was the best of the best, and the apple of the force's eye. Hold on a minute. What are you talking about? Who's Courtney Stevens? Sorry. Got a bit carried away there. Stevens is Dr. Sif's maiden name. Her maiden name? So that was before she was married. Oh, wait, it's the same person. Of course, yes. Silly me. It's Sith now, isn't it? Stevens. I'm sure I've seen that name somewhere recently. Anyway, the point is, those were the great days of policing, not like now. Sorry to interrupt, sir. But do you think you could change your statement to include that name? Well, yes, I don't see why not. Oh wait, can I use this to pursue? Oh, let me just save this just in case, cause I don't trust myself. No, I did not mean to. Fuck. Hold on. I'm not. That was not actually intentional, so I'm just gonna reload that because I really don't want to have to go through that dialogue that I did not mean to do first. Hit.
Objection.
Those two statements clearly contradict each other. Good gracious! To what statements do you refer, counsel? So, juror number 2. Oh gosh, me? What can I do for you? I presume that you heard what juror number 6 said in his statement. It's brought to light the maiden name of the coroner, Dr. Sith, which in turn has revealed a connection that wasn't apparent before. Well, naturally, as a woman of society, I find such connections and relationships irresistible. But, oh golly, I'm afraid I fail to see what you mean. Dr. Sif's maiden name is Stevens. And through the name, the coroner is very definitely linked to the waxwork of the killer. The defense has evidence to prove it. My goodness, evidence, you say? How utterly enthralling. Counsel, the court cannot overlook that last remark. I very much hope there is substance to your claim. Of course, my lord. I would ask the court to look at this. Evidence that clearly links Dr. Sith to the mass murderer known as the Professor. This should be... this one.
Take that!
I have here a certain autopsy report from 10 years ago. 10-year-old autopsy report? What relevance does that have? It is, of course, from the autopsy of the person portrayed in the waxwork. The killer, known as the Professor. The Professor's? The man was a capital offender, so... That's right. This is a certification of death that was drawn up after the convict's execution. The identity of the killer was never made public, so the report gives few details, as my controller proceeds to try and die. Hang on. Just trying to get a cable in there. Did that work? Hold on. Let me check that it worked. Okay, cool. Just had to make sure. But what's important is the name of the coroner who wrote it. Courtney Stevens. Oh my, Courtney Stevens? Strike a light! It appears that the professor's autopsy was conducted by Dr. Sith 10 years ago. Oh, it freaking decalibrated me again. And a few days ago, Mr. Gerber very deliberately sold the waxwork of the professor from Madame Tussbells. Sorry, I got distracted on my model's ears, like flipping the heck out. A waxwork that does not in fact resemble the victim, Mr. Asman, is all. And do you suppose that there's some unsavory relationship between those events? Absolutely. I'm sure of it. There is no doubt in my mind that the professor case is at the heart of a link that we have yet to uncover. Between Dr. Courtney Sith and Mr. Enoch Drebber. Hidden links. Mysterious connections, secret relationships. This is all most extraordinary. We're surely obliged now to explore this further. Will the police officer also move? Quite right. We can't let this trial come to an end now. Not while there's this cloud of suspicion hanging over the yard's best coroner. It wasn't like this in my day, but we're still here to uphold justice in the end. Okay. Inside the bird cage. But you claimed the whole instantaneous kinesis demonstration was a trick! That I did, but there's more than one way to pull a rabbit out of the hat, isn't there? Sorry? I grant you, given that this cage appeared from a missing explosion, there has been no need to use a real person. But if a waxwork has been used, the culprit could at least have had the decency to make it look like the victim. I'm not sure exactly how much criminals are governed by decency. The point is, if you're going to make a claim about the waxwork being inside the birdcage, you need to give us some evidence. Without that, it's just not science. I suppose we should expect nothing less than a logical argument from a fellow of the Royal Society. That perhaps means his mind could be changed if we manage to present suitable evidence. Evidence that the Professor Waxwork was inside that birdcage. Can I predict? Duh. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, I have evidence. Actually, I have something I'd like you to see, sir. Oh? I must warn you that I firmly believe it's only wise to trust men in white coats. So given your jet black outfit, I don't mind admitting to a sense of trepidation here. So you don't trust anyone in black? Looking in the mirror must be very trying. I do have some evidence that proves the waxwork was inside the birdcage, namely... because this came out of... yeah.
Take that!
What's that? A piece of glass? Though it's unusually thick for glass. Yes, it's a piece of broken glass that we found inside the jacket of the waxwork. As you say, it's not ordinary glass though. It's very thick and clearly made for extra strength. Much like the special glass that was developed for the construction of the Crystal Tower. The Crystal Tower? Holy smokes! Exactly. The centerpiece of the Great Exhibition where the very incident we're talking about took place. On the day in question, the birdcage fell from above and smashed through a window of that special glass. From whence the small piece originated. Is that it? Precisely. So, what do you say? Now that clear evidence in support of the assertion has been placed before you. Well, as I said, I only trust men in white coats as a rule. However, when the reason is sound, it's fair to say color shouldn't come into this. In light of what you've shown me here, yes, I feel obliged to change my position on the matter. In that case, juror number 4, you will amend your statement now, please. Oh, he didn't actually change his leaning. Would it be you two?
Objection.
Oh. Those two statements clearly contradict each other. Good gracious. Oh, yeah. If you could put down your corn for a moment, juror number 5. Ooh, you mean me? You pointed out that it's wrong to make an accusation without evidence. But the accusation that the waxwork model was inside the second birdcage on the day in question is not without supporting evidence, as the defense demonstrated to the juror sitting beside you. Ooh, is that right? Would it be fair to say you didn't follow the argument? I don't understand much besides Colonel Cobb, to be honest. Of course you don't. If I could interject here, please do, sir. Now that this assertion of yours about the waxwork has been backed up by some solid evidence, it would be wrong of me as a man of science not to pursue the matter further. Ah, well, me too then. Sorry? If this brainy gentleman says he's right, then he must be. See? I wouldn't dream of going against Colonel Cobb or anyone who's got stuff in between the ears. We did it. We did it. Success! If you can call it that. Thank you, counsel. That will do. As a result of the summation examination, the jury's overall leaning has changed. 2 jurors now called guilty against 4 who called not guilty. Accordingly, the court has failed to reach a consensus at this time. And the trial must continue. We did it! Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo! Another wonderful victory! A waxwork of the despicable professor, used as a body double for the victim in this quite extraordinary case. I must say, it's extremely hard to believe the assertion could possibly be true. However, it would appear that it does at least warrant further investigation. The waxwork of the professor that links Mr. Drebber and Dr. Seth. And I'm convinced that there is a special significance to that link. I don't know what you're hoping to prove, lad. I really don't. Truth, sir. By using evidence and testimony. If the court is to delve deeper into the alleged involvement of the waxwork in this case, then the prosecution calls for the owner of the model to be summoned as a witness. The owner? Madame Testspells. I really thought that Lord Von Zeeks would object to this whole line of inquiry. Very well, I concur. Make arrangements for Madame Tuspels to appear as a witness with immediate effect. Listen carefully, my learned friend. Oh, yes? You should know that you're on the brink of opening Pandora's box. The court shall now adjourn for 45 minutes. During that time, the prosecution will summon a new witness and prepare her for taking a stand. Madam Tuspels, yes. I shall see to it at once, my lord. Yeah. Oh, it's an actual to be continue? Okay. Hold up. I want to go cook some rice real quick. So let me get to a point of the thing with music and then we can go. You go back into here and there should be music and I just need like what? 5 minutes to wash the rice? Bet. Hi. Screw you. I'm gonna go make my rice. I'll be right back. I got some tea. I just stuck the rice in the rice cooker. So that way I can quickly get food in the middle of gaming. I got sushi. Eh. Eh. Okay. Alright. Ah, Knight Errant himself. That's my PS5 controller. Oh, have you been watching from the gallery, Mr. Sholmes? I've been on the edge of my seat the entire time. Courtroom trials are fascinating affairs. As a spectator, at least. I'm glad you've been enjoying yourself. Hi. I have to ask. What on earth is going on? It makes no sense. What's this professor business all about? It doesn't look like any professor I've met before. Who even is he? Ah, of course. You were in Germany already 10 years ago. Yes, the professor. When I discovered he was the one who has been abducted, a sense of foreboding stirred within me. But who knew the monster would come knocking at your door? My heartfelt sympathies. As it turns out, Lord Von Zieks is even more intimately tied to this case than any of us realize, isn't he? Yes, how true. His great friend from university in the dock. And now, a waxwork of the killer who took his esteemed brother's life makes an appearance too. I imagine even the shrewd Mr. Reaper failed to foresee that kick in the teeth. An extraordinary move on your part, my dear fellow, to throw that in front of the man. You make it sound deliberate. I can't help feeling that this professor case is really very puzzling. Oh, yes? In what particular manner? Well, there's Mr. Drebber, Dr. Sith, and Lord Von Zieks. It seems that everyone's trial has a link to the case somehow. Yes. In fact, I alone am not a member of the set! Oh, that leaves me as an empty set, all alone with no intersection to any other. Excuse me. Dr. Sith! Ah, Dr. Courtney Sith, Stevens. Good day to you. Hello, Sholmes. That was very shrewd of you. What in particular, pray? You requested that 10-year-old autopsy report from Gregson, didn't you? Why would you assume such a thing? Because Gregson told me. To think it's been 10 years. 10 years in the laboratory, wielding my scalpel. I smell of nothing but corpses and disinfectant. The policeman on the jury has a lot to say about you as it happens, Dr. Sith. And I've accused you of being complicit in what happened. I'm hoping you'll take the stand and tell the truth about what really happened. That certainly won't be possible. Lord Von Zieks won't be summoning me as a witness. Lord Strongheart has forbidden it. Lord Strongheart? The Pandora's box you were warned about. It's the professor's case. But please don't make the mistake of thinking you'll get any information out of me. But attempting to hide from the truth? It's cowardice! I've always fought crime in the way that I've seen fit. I have no regrets. None at all. And that's all I came here to say. So, good day to you. You mentioned it too. This Pandora's box. Whatever does it all mean? There's really no cause for concern. I assure you, when the trial resumes, the meaning will all become too apparent, whether you like it or not. Huh? Now then, I believe it's almost time. I must make my way back to the public gallery. The edge of my seat awaits! I think maybe you're enjoying yourself a little too much. Ah yes, one word of warning before I go. If in the course of the trial this afternoon you perceive even a shadow of doubt about the truth, don't let it out of your sight. Pursue it like a dog with a bone. To the bitter end, you understand? Do not falter, whatever may come to pass. Alright, I understand. Thank you. Good. I shall make myself scarce then. I purchased a bar of caramel earlier, so I'll be gnawing on that as you gnaw away at the truth. What did the warning from Mr. Sholmes really mean, I wonder? Especially the bit about whatever may come to pass. It's time for the final chapter then. I'm determined to find the truth, no matter what happened. Please. Okay, that is really terrifying to come back to the court seeing that. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby reconvene the proceedings of this court. Counsels for the defense and prosecution, are you ready and able to continue? The prosecution is ready, my lord. Yes, my lord. The defense is also ready. As the court is aware, the case under our scrutiny began with the damaging incident of the Great Exhibition. Yet now we find ourselves embroiled in the details of a convicted fellow who was sent to the gallows a decade ago. This trial has certainly defied all expectation. That seems to be the fate of all trials in which this Nipponese is involved, my lord. So then, let us begin our exploration of the defense's assertion that the waxwork was cardinally involved in this matter. Lord von Zeeks, my lord, are we still awaiting the arrival of Madame Tuspels? Not at all. She's in the antechamber as we speak, and ready to be summoned. Very well. Bring in the witness. At once, my lord. Bailiff, show Miss Tuspels to the stand. Things are about to become a lot more intense. If Trevor's responsible, as I'm sure he is, it means he must have an accomplice in Dr. Sith. And what connects the pair of them is the waxwork. Yes, the motto of the professor. That's the key to the link between these otherwise unrelated individuals. It's a tenuous link, admittedly, but at present is all we have to go on. Oh! State your name and occupation for the court, please. That's Sholmes. My name is Madame Esmeralda Tuspels. I'm a waxwork artisan, and the proprietress of the Madame Tuspels Museum of Waxwork. You will have to pardon me for working as I testify. My new exhibit must open very soon. Oh, so he finally gets a statue, does he? Now there are two of them in the world. Oh my, what expression is she carving onto that face? A number of days ago, a particular waxwork model was stolen from your museum. Can you confirm this? Oui, that is true. At first, we believed it had been kidnapped. A waxwork model? Kidnapped? Yes, my lord. There was a demand for ransom money left behind by the culprit. However, according to what I have just been told outside the courtroom, that was not the true reason. I understand it was utilized as a substitute for the body of a murder victim. At present, there is no more than conjecture proposed by the defense. This is the victim of the case in question, Mr. Yasmin. But of course, I know him well. He is a part of my odious personages. He's a waxwork. I had to test to say what is evident, but Mr. Asman does not resemble the professor at all. Yes, but perhaps their faces are very similar. Are you suggesting that we should see now the demasked visage of the professor? I have here the key, but it is strictly forbidden to open the lock. This is absurd! Pardon? I don't know what face you've carved on your fancy figure behind that mask. But clearly, it won't be that of the actual killer. Indeed. The man's identity was never made public after all. The trial took place in a closed court. The proceedings were strictly confidential. The condemned man was he was executed. His identity remains a closely guarded national secret. Who in the hell comes up with these goddamn characters? Got the man in the iron mask out here on trial for murder? One, it's a waxwork. Two, he's not the one accused of murder. Three, he's a waxwork. There is no possible way that a repository of tawdry exhibits could get its handles on the information. Well, dommage? I assume this is French, and I am so sorry if I'm butchering it. I do not know a lick of French. It would seem you are unaware of the test spell's principles. What principles? Family Test Spells has always prided itself on sculpting its models a la perfection. Every detail, including the visage, is fashioned with complete fidelity. Et voila! Our principles. I am probably butchering all this. There's a well-known legend about the Test Spells waxworks from the time of the French Revolution. A member of the Test Spells family is said to have made a waxwork of the queen who was executed. Oui, that is true. It was a century ago now. I believe the queen's face was carved in minutes following her death, actually at the guillotine site. You are correct. The model is on display still today on the House of Horrors. We Test Spells will stop at nothing to obtain a faithful replica of our subjects. Dear me. A somewhat disturbing tenacity of purpose. It is the only way to obtain a truly lifelike representation of the subject. And it has been my family's secret for generations. Do you mean to say that beneath the mask? Oui, the true visage of the killer is there. This is ludicrous. It's out of the question. The professor spread terror throughout Great Britain. As a result, the Madame Tuspel's special exhibit remains extremely popular even today. The killer, emerging from his own grave, is a sight to behold. You should come. I think, madam, it would be beneficial to hear your formal testimony on this matter. You explain every detail of this macabre model? Is that how you say it? And your personal involvement in its creation. With pleasure. Words are hard. The special exhibit at the House of Horrors is based on a rumor that shocked the society in London. An an impression of the visage was taken directly from the corpse, in accordance with Tespel's family practice. I enlisted the aid of the gravedigger and created a mold for the head in the cemetery just before the interment. I hid myself until he gave me a signal. I was there for a very long time that night. As dawn approached, I was very worried I could be discovered.
The gravedigger? The man sanctioned this?
Oui. I will do all that is necessary to achieve the true resemblance my family is celebrated for. Nobody else knew, only the gravedigger. What harm did it do, hmm?
Truly saw it. The face of that monster!
Naturally, I was aware at the time that his identity was a secret. But Tespels will not be Tespels if we did not insist on absolute fidelity to our sculptures.
Don't believe this.
I myself have seen the special exhibit at your museum, madam.
Truly blood-curdling scene in which the murderer is emerging from his own grave.
The scene it depicts was the subject of many rumors in London 10 years ago. I have here a newspaper from the time.
Ugh! Oh, that's terrifying.
The special exhibit was based upon the picture in the article. It was the most detailed account of what happened, as reported by the eyewitness who saw it.
Man rises from the grave. It's too absurd for words.
The public enjoys absurdity, monsieur. That is why I've reproduced the scene as carefully as possible in my museum.
And it's a waxwork from that museum, from that exhibit that was stolen from days before the incident at the Great Exhibition, wasn't it?
That is correct. That presser you see before you here.
Most puzzling. Counsel for the defense, proceed with the cross-examination.
This waxwork links Trevor to Dr. Sith. And there has been some reason for that which hasn't yet come to light.
But I'll find it. I'll get to the bottom of what really happened. I'll prove that Dr. Sith and Trevor were in on the crime together.
How the fuck do you expect me to do this? How the fuck do you expect me to do this? It still doesn't make any sense.
Okay, so... Do we have a name for the gravedigger?
Hold it!
Surely that's illegal, isn't it?
It would seem the proprietress of this repository of novelties was blinded by monetary greed. It had nothing to do with money. The man is part of London's criminal history. That is why I had to sculpt him, to record this history. It is the Raison d'etre of the Tespels Museum. Help. But if the man was convicted in a closed court and sent for immediate execution, then surely nobody but the members of the judiciary present knows the killer's true identity. I assure you, behind that mask is hidden the true face of the professor.
You realize what you're saying? The professor's identity is a national secret.
I understand. And now that the truth about the special exhibit has been revealed, it must perhaps close.
Of course it will. As will your entire museum if you don't tread very carefully, madam.
That could be another interesting chapter in the history of my family, I think, don't you? 10 years ago, on the night of the professor's execution, you took a wax impression of his face from the corpse? Oui, exactamente. Oh wait, I should probably look at the evidence. Hold on. I don't know what else it says. Oh no, it's just okay.
Do I have to read all of this little text? The young man who witnessed the scene was on the verge of rage and shriek when in the next second a gunshot rang out suddenly from behind. The bullet pierced the resurrected man's chest, whose breath then stilled once more. The youth then finally released a scream he had been longing and ran for his life. Charles Darwin to receive Copley Medal. Wait. That's O.D. Asman's name. That's his signature. You were there longer than you expected to be. I had some difficulties in capturing the subject's form correctly. As I removed the mask, the mouth of the cadaver fell open and I had problems with the chin. Dare I ask? The man had been dead for a short while already, you see. His muscles were relaxing and consequently his chin would not align itself correctly. Oh dear. What a horrible thought. Under normal circumstances, I would have an assistant with me. However, that night I was alone, and as a consequence, I missed my preferred window of time. What do you mean? When I take the impression of the visage of a cadaver, I always wait until 3 hours after death. Why 3 hours? Is that amount of time significant? It is because of rigor mortis. Wrigley mortis? It's the name given to a phenomenon that occurs in recently deceased bodies. As a rule, 3 hours post-death, the muscles in the body begin to stiffen. By approximately 10 hours post-death, the entire body is completely rigid and inflexible. And then from that point on, the muscles slowly start to revert to their relaxed state. The effect is often used to estimate the time of death when a body is discovered. Well, that was an education, if a slight scary one. As the Mademoiselle says, rigor mortis commences 3 hours after death, and it starts in the jaw. See, so that's why you wait. Before that time, the mouth falls open, and it is very difficult to do my work. Ugh, it's getting hard for me to do my work with all of this talk of corpses. I wonder about that information the court has just heard from Madame Testbells. It could be significant. The information about rigor mortis that you just shared with us. Would you mind including it in your formal testimony? I believe it could be significant, you see. Of course, I do not mind at all. I can't help feeling that after this latest topic, the atmosphere in the courtroom has become extremely grave. This is no time for jokes, Mrs. Otto. Madam, kindly amend your testimony as discussed. Bien sûr. Do I have... I don't think this is gonna be enough to show that.
Objection!
I meant to hit A. I meant to hit A. I want you to believe that I meant to hit A. Yeah, I actually think the rigor mortis is kind of useless. Rigor mortis mean the phenomenon you described, whereby the corpse becomes stiff after death. I think you said that it starts at the jaw, about 3 hours. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Time of death around 2:20 p.m. took by hanging confirmed at midnight, 17th June. Oh no, this is not enough to go by. Wait. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that. Of course, the exact duration depends on a little on the season. I didn't realize a waxwork artisan would be so well versed in the subject. None. That is the only elementary knowledge in the field of legal medicine. Well, I had no idea about it, but maybe I won't admit to my ignorance about forensic science. I could ask my father to give you a very simple primer if you like. I think corpses should be your domain. I'm not good with them. Oh dear. I'll do my very best.
Hold it!
You said the dawn was approaching? What was the time of day then, approximately? Well, I could not say. But when I left the cemetery with my utensils of wax, the morning light was becoming visible. The execution took place on 17th June, which had the earliest sunrise of that year. Indeed it did. First light would have been around 4:40 in the morning. That really is early. The fact is I had very little time, so I finished my work in a half hour. It was necessary to complete the impression and bury the body before daybreak, of course. If somebody had discovered me there, it would have been a catastrophe, so I had to hurry. Is it me, or does Mr. Sholmes seem to be taking shape more quickly now, too? You certainly appear to go to the extraordinary lengths for your work, madam. I wonder, is what she just said particularly significant? Madam, those details about how long it took you to complete the sculpture and the early sunrise, could you include them in your testimony? I believe they may be significant. Of course, if you would like me to. You are quite right, Mr. Naruhodo. It is intriguing. A sunrise at 4 in the morning would be absolutely unimaginable at home, wouldn't it? That's not quite what I meant by significant. Kindly amend your formal testimony then, madam. With pleasure, my lord. So is this where I present?
Objection!
Really? Bro, what the fuck am I supposed to do here?
Hold it!
Do you have reason to believe you might be discovered once the sun came up or something? I'd paid the grave digger money to keep my little secret, of course. But with the morning light, I knew that the warden from the prison would commence his patrol of the area. Couldn't you just have paid off the warden too, then? I had already paid the gravedigger, as I said. You cannot buy the silence of everyone, or the secret is no longer a secret, The sunrise was at 4:40 that day, which means it would have been around 4 when you began your sculpting work. Oui, that must be correct. That would be when the gravedigger gave me the signal to come out of hiding. So, that's all I have to go on. What's your feeling, Mr. Naruhodo? For some reason, Dr. Sis went along with Draper's plan. Now, if that's really true, the professor is the only other thing we know of that links the pair of them. So I feel sure that waxwork must be a clue to this mystery somehow. In that case, we must use this cross-examination to uncover exactly what it means. Otherwise, the jurors are sure to revert to the meanings and the trial will be over. I agree, but interestingly,
Uncovering what the professor had to do with all this means more to Lord Von Zieks than anyone. That's the impression I'm getting anyway. Yes, as do I. After all, he has a profound connection to the professor as well. What the fuck do you expect me to do?
Hold it!
That rumor would be a 10-year-old tale now, but one that no Londoner would ever forget. Ah, right. I know just what you're talking about, I think. Of course, it couldn't be anything else. Yes, that story will never disappear. The tale of the condemned killer rising from the dead. That is the central attraction of my house of horrors. The rumor was whispered all over the city, and it was like this. It was in the Lowgate Cemetery behind the prison, in the dead of night after the execution of the killer. The fucking owl in the background! The interred professor slid back the stone slab covering the tomb and emerged from his grave. A young man who witnessed this felt a scream welling up inside him. But an instant later he heard an ear-splitting gunshot from over his shoulder. The bullet struck the emerging corpse, and he fell motionless once more. The scream finally found its way. Oh! That makes sense now! The scream finally found its way from the mouth of the young witness who turned and ran for his life. The corpse climbed out of his own grave? And then somebody shot him? Who was it? Nobody knows, even today. But remember, it was just a rumor. Perhaps nothing more than a ghost story. The good people of London, they love stories like this. That is why it was in every newspaper across the capital. But was it just a story? I mean, this is exactly the scene that can be seen today at your museum, isn't it? Oui. The special exhibit was modeled on that very illustration. For a while afterwards, the contents of that article were reproduced in every newspaper imaginable. Madam, might I say something? Please, go ahead, mademoiselle. When something is described as a rumor, it doesn't necessarily mean that's entirely made up. I believe that often, rumors contain elements of truth. Ah, I see that people from the East can be just as astute as people of Europe. Can we be sure, for instance, that the professor's execution was successful? It is not possible for the dead to come back to life. Sorry? 10 years ago, I was there in Lowgate Cemetery, after the criminal known as the professor was killed by hanging. I took a wax impression of his visage from the corpse just before he was interred. So I can assure you, the man was dead. See. It would certainly appear that the condemned man suffered the intended fate. So, my realization just occurred because Odie Asman's body has the vertebrae snapping, which actually, what does it say exactly? It has a broken vertebrae. I don't know to what extent, but you could do... No! The broken vertebrae could be from the hanging. And the sharp implement could be from the gun. So honestly, this might just be the corpse of the professor. And this is not the actual real Odie Asman. That's my thought.
Hold it!
Is that true of every waxwork in your museum, though? It is, assuming the subject is dead, of course. Oh, but the problem is, it's been 10 years. There's no way they would have sustained the body for that entire time. Unless both the pictures of the body is, wax. Assuming the subject is dead, of course, live subjects have to cooperate in a similar way. I have letters from imprisoned criminals all the time, you know. What sort of letters?
When my time comes, please make a waxwork of me. Omika. No! My museum is famous, monsieur. To be made into a waxwork is an honor, and for some criminals, a symbol of status even. Because nothing says hardened criminal better than wax. And it's thanks to one killer in particular that my museum has gained such popularity in London. I refer to the star of the special exhibit, of course, the Professor. It's form you claim to have captured by taking an impression from the actual corpse. There are no exceptions to the principles of test spells. Okay, yeah, that's... $20 p.m. I feel like I'm supposed to present evidence on this one because it actually has a time, but the problem is, how do I...
Objection!
I have two things I can do, the rigor mortis and the time.
Objection!
I'm actually a little confused. I'm not entirely sure what they want me to present here. So, this one specified the professor and the rumors, which also details everything in that article she gave me. This has, I'm pretty sure that one has nothing for us. The two pieces word to heard. The two pieces of testimony that got added in are these two. One has a time, one specified rigor mortis. The only ones I have time for are the two autopsy reports. I don't think this one actually tells the time, does it? No. My assumption is that the one thing that's not clear is how did this story of the corpse coming back to life happen? Because I assume that would have had to happen after they buried the corpse after the execution at midnight. and before she dug it back up. There's no mention of either of those.
Objection.
Oh, that's not hard. The problem is I don't know what question I'm supposed to be answering here. A hint? Yeah, I would love a hint, actually. I don't know what it's about this entire case. Something just doesn't seem right. And everything's kind of in a flurry. Cause my assumption is that Drebber is the grave digger because he has a shovel. But I don't see an area where I can slide that in. And I don't know how relevant that is. The wounds match up to what Odie Yasmin had, which probably means that this is a falsified autopsy report. Damn, why is it? I'm pretty sure it wasn't this game. I think it was Spirits of Justice and oh god. It was Spirits of Justice and the Layton Ace Attorney game where they started giving you hints if you kept them messing up or you kept them looping around, and I don't get this here. So if anyone does have a hint, by all fucking means, I'm actually pretty stuck here. The problem is this head, I already checked the key. That's the only thing that allows me to focus on. I can't check to see if its jaw is misaligned or not. So there goes the amount of that. All this says is death by hanging. The other autopsy report has the broken vertebrae and the hemorrhaging of a wound. But that's about it. And also the time and the dates don't line up at all. Oh man. I wonder when to give us a magnifying glass here, like really. The only three pieces of evidence I feel like I can present is the article, the autopsy report, and the waxwork head. Although the waxwork head is, very much not.
Hold it!
Did I not press this one? No, I did press that one. there's no point in me presenting on this piece, right? I have a hint. Yeah, and I gave you the go-ahead. Can you please give me the hint? I do desire a hint. I don't know if it got passed over or anything. Or if ads decided they wanted to show up in the blue. Do I even have ads that just run in the middle of the thing? Maybe? Oh yeah, Astro, can you give me a hint? Oopsie, mass murder. I would really want to put this autopsy report out, but the problem is she doesn't specify the contents of the, what happened to the body in this statement.
Objection!
As I thought. Alright, Astro, what is your hint? As I wait for your hint, I'm just gonna try to piece this together. This doesn't have it all. Why am I looking at this one? Didn't hear 4 a.m., 3 hours, 1 a.m. No, I get that. So rigor mortis would have started at 4 a.m. And because there was a time there, that's I tried presenting the autopsy report and she didn't accept it. I did give her the right one, right?
Objection!
Yeah, I gave her the right one and she didn't accept that. That's the only one that actually has a time on it. I only have 3 little badgies. Is there another piece of evidence I have that has a time on it? Oh, unless I'm supposed to present it here instead. But I thought I did.
Objection!
I thought I did! Game's stupid. Man! Madam Tuss spells. I have here an autopsy report that was filed 10 years ago now. It confirms the death of the professor following his execution at the gallows. And, is that a problem? I believe it is, because your testimony and a particular detail in the report completely contradicts one another. I'm not gonna try to figure out how to say that word. Are you going to explain yourself, my Nipponese friend? According to her testimony, Madame Tuspels was creating her wax impression just before dawn. And at the time, rigor mortis has not yet set in. Am I correct so far, madam? You are, yes. As I said, the stiffening of the jaw is the first sign of rigor mortis, 2 to 3 hours after death. But the man's chin was limp, so he cannot have been dead for a long time. So this is what I hate about some of the cases in Ace Attorney, is that they can't show you all of the details in like a single testimony statement. So then it gets really hard to try and piece together evidence to testimony in situations like this. Like on paper, it made sense when I read it out loud. But the problem is, it was hard for me to figure out if it wanted me to present on this statement or the next statement. Because they're kind of one and the same in a sense. Whatever. But on the other hand, if you look at Dr. Stiff's report, it quite clearly states the following. Death by hanging confirmed at midnight, 17th June. No. The professor indeed died at midnight that day. Then by the time you're sculpting his face, rigor mortis would have already set in. Which probably goes in line with the fact that he probably revived himself, in big quotations. Oui, yes, you are right. The chin, it would have been completely stiff. In other words, this report is wrong.
Objection!
No coroner makes mistakes when recording the time of death. The very idea is absurd. As I'm being forced to drink water. They're out of my head. In that case, there's only one possible conclusion. The execution didn't actually take place at the stated time. Impossible! God, her hair is very long. Order! Order! Counsel, this is beyond folly! Not only do you indicate the author of the report, Dr. Sith, but you also implicate members of the staff at Barclay Prison where the execution took place! By heck! Extraordinary! Not in my day!
Objection!
I'm about to be murdered on the spot. My learned friend appears to have overlooked one very crucial fact. What fact? The professor died that night. Without question. He did. Of course he did. I moved the man's limp jaw with my own hands. There is no... Yes, the professor died that night. But what if he didn't die at the gallows? Didn't die at... Are you insane? What exactly are you suggesting did happen in the case? It's almost impossible to believe, but it would explain the link between Dr. Sith, the professor, and the one person of interest. This has a fucking parallel to the Kazuma, second case. Because I'm pretty sure they said that his neck was broken when he fell backwards. I have evidence that'll explain exactly what I'm suggesting to happen that night. Do I? Counsel, present the evidence at once. The evidence that allegedly explains what really happened the night of the professor's execution. Is it the camera because there's blood on it? There's like 3 different pieces of evidence I could present here.
Take that!
Whatever here.
Objection!
Yeah, that's what I thought. Before considering even the night of the execution, I would strongly advise the defense to concentrate on what is happening right now in this courtroom. Sorry. Sorry. Listen, I just kind of hardwired because there was blood on the replica. I won't let anyone execute Mr. Naruto. Not tonight. Counsel, present the evidence at once. What happened to the night in the premises? Would it be the article? It has to be the article, right?
Take that!
What happened that night is written very plainly in this newspaper article. Executed criminal returns in the dead of the night at local cemetery. You're suggesting it was a corpse coming back from the dead now? Well, if this article is to be believed, yes. The professor, assumed dead following his execution, emerged from his grave and was killed again.
Objection!
You fool! It's simply a rumor published by the gutter press. Can you be certain of that? Serious? The point is, as the article says, there was a witness to what happened. My word, yes indeed! Mazui? The young man who stole into the cemetery by chance that night.
Objection!
Of course there was a witness. The story didn't write itself, but obviously the man made it all up. And in any case, this was 10 years ago now. There would surely be no hope of finding him.
Objection!
On the contrary, my lord, we all know this witness well. What? You're suggesting, counsel, that you've identified the person in question? That you know who claims to have seen this utterly incredible event take place? Yes, my lord. In fact, you could say that he's right here, before my very eyes. You will substantiate your latest claim now then, counsel. Who is the alleged witness of the staggering scene from the cemetery 10 years ago? It was Iris! Where the hell is he? There you are.
Take that!
The man in question is Mr. Enoch Drebber. Drebber? The previous witness? Special exhibit in the House of Horrors at Madame Tussauds Museum of Waxwork recreates that decade-old scene in great detail. condemned criminal emerging from the grave. And beside the tomb, a young man with a lantern stumbling upon the terrifying sight. And that young man is a 10-year younger Mr. Enoch Drebber. Order! 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 Surely not, Counsel. Drebber was there. And locate the cemetery. What is all this talk about, Mr. Drebber? Is the name significant? Of course, Madame Tuspel doesn't know, does she? Yes, it's extremely significant, madam. To your situation as well, in fact. What situation? The theft of the Professor waxwork from your museum some days ago was perpetrated by the very same man. None. But that would mean... Madame Tuspels, it would appear you know the name Enoch Drebber. Oui, yes, I know it. But from long ago in the past. What? Oh my. Good gracious! Explain yourself. Tell us everything you know. Yes. Yes, of course. The story of the young man and the terrible sight he witnessed in the cemetery 10 years ago was published in every single newspaper in London and throughout Great Britain. However, in all of the articles, the witness was simply described as a certain young man. No details were published about his identity. His name was never revealed. That is, apart from in one newspaper. The Daily Circus. It is the paper from which comes the article I have already shown in court. You're saying that his full name was only publicized in that article? Goodness me! Yes, here it is! The university student who experienced this shocking event is Mr. Enoch Drebber, disciple of science at the University of London and a resident of its student dorms. Unbelievable! When I read the article, I went to meet with the man. His discovery of the condemned criminal coming back to life in the cemetery in the dead of night would make a perfect exhibit for my house of horrors, whether it was the truth or not. I see. So you went to meet Mr. Drebber in order to sculpt the waxwork of the man, did you? Exactamente. He was studying science at the University of London in those days. He was just a poor student. I paid him £5 to model for the waxwork. And since that time, it has been in my museum to recreate the scene of terror from the cemetery. I kind of figured that was already common knowledge, you guys. I guess I was wrong. So, 10 years ago, a young man appealed to the public about an extraordinary event he witnessed. A criminal who has been put to death, re-emerging from his grave in the middle of the night. But the public treated his claim as nothing more than an amusing anecdote that was soon forgotten. 10 years later, the same man steals a waxwork model of the executed criminal, ostensibly to use as a body double for the victim in the case we've discussing here today. Even though the waxwork's build is a poor match for the victim, and its face is obscured by a mask. So the question is, why would the man do such a thing? Which brings us to 3 days ago, when the birdcage crashed into the Crystal Tower. If the birdcage had in fact contained not the body of Mr. Asman but the same waxwork, the coroner from Scotland Yard who investigated Dr. Sith would have noticed immediately. And yet, she submitted this autopsy report for the victim, which the court has seen earlier. Why? Because the waxwork was that of the professor. Is that what you're saying? Dr. Sith put her name to a document confirming the death of a condemned criminal who is still alive. A criminal whose apparent resurrection was witnessed by Mr. Drebber. That misconduct was a deadly secret the coroner would do anything to protect. Which is precisely why Mr. Drebber used that particular waxwork as the body double. My lord, this court must summon Dr. Sith to the stand. The defense is determined to find out exactly how the coroner and Mr. Drebber are connected. But according to the missive I received this morning through the prosecutor's office, Dr. Sith is unable to participate in these proceedings. Is that not the case? I know what you did last decade. 500 seasons ago. On the night in question. She told us herself, did she? Yes, you've already told us, lady. Something happened on the night of that killer's execution 10 years ago. And surely nobody would want to get to the bottom of that more than Lord Von Zeeks. The prosecution calls for the instructions in that missive to be scrapped. But Lord Von Zeeks! The missive was issued from the Lord Chief Justice.
Objection!
The assigned prosecutor has the final say on the policy in any particular trial. In other words, me. Yes. Let Enoch Drebber and Dr. Sith both take stand together. Order! 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 Very well, I will uphold your request. Bailiff, send a subpoena with immediate effect addressed to Dr. Sith of the Forensic Investigation Team. The woman is compelled to attend on Her Majesty's orders. Alright then, Enoch Drebber and Dr. Sith. If they weren't colluding with one another, this crime could have never been committed. I'm just a stone's throw away, I can feel it. The truth behind all of this is about to come out. Hi. Oh god, all three of you are here. Thank you for your attendance at such short notice, Dr. Sith. I'm disappointed in you, Lord Von Zeeks. You've completely betrayed the agreed policy of both Scotland Yard and the prosecutor's office. Betrayal is not in my nature, as long as the truth isn't compromised. If it is, there's even a hint of wrongdoing, then no matter whom it concerns or disgruntled, I will pursue the matter to the bitter end, as would any other prosecutor worth his salt. Mr. Drebber, you took the victim's life by means of a machine that you constructed in your workshop. And Dr. Sith, as the investigating coroner, you were the first on the scene to examine the victim's body. It is the belief of the defense that you collaborated with each other and were both complicit in this crime. And where's your evidence? At present, we have no definitive evidence, but we do have a very significant clue. What are you talking about? I'm talking, of course, about the waxwork. The model of the killer known as the Professor, who was sentenced to death 10 years ago. You don't need to tell me. I witnessed the man's execution with my own eyes, and officially pronounced him dead. That remains to be seen. Is that so? According to the newspaper reports from the time, on the night following his execution, the killer came back to life. Don't waste my time. And the sole witness to that mysterious event was you, Mr. Drebber, wasn't it? If what you saw in the graveyard that night 10 years ago wasn't some chilling fiction but reality, it would make you privy to a very great secret of Dr. Sith's. A secret so profound it could compel the coroner to agree to collaborate in your evil scheme, in fact. Mr. Drebber, tell the court. Tell everyone the truth of what you saw the night in Lowgate Cemetery. So he was the student who saw it. You can see the resemblance, actually, can't you? With the man in Madame Tuspel's, I mean. Surely he's not going to claim that's really what he saw, especially not after all these years. He was a research student at the University of London, was he? And a bit too clever for his own good, if you ask me. What an interesting twist. When at the time, not one person would take me seriously. Yet now, here we are, 10 years later, and suddenly my story matters. And in a court of law, too. Very well then. If everyone so wishes. Let's be frank. I'll tell you the truth of what happened that night, for what it's worth. So, Mr. Drebber, your testimony, please, about the events of that night 10 years ago. You will tell the court exactly what you stumbled across in Lowgate Cemetery. Yes, of course, as you wish. I'm just very distracted by his hand. The reason I was in Lowgate Cemetery at all 10 years ago was for a spot of moonlighting, shall we say. Yes, the illustration in that newspaper article was based on what I witnessed that night. Thinking back now, I realized that I never actually saw the professor. Soon afterwards, I was visited by a young woman who sculpted a model of me from wax. Then I gave up on my dream of becoming a scientist. And it was all because of that newspaper article. Wait a minute! You're claiming you didn't actually see the professor now? Of course. You'd have to have a screw loose if you believe a corpse could come back from the dead. What? So, you're saying this article... not worth the paper it's printed on? I think that would describe it perfectly, yes. The details in the article aren't true. It nullifies your argument for why Mr. Drebber and Dr. Sith would have been working together. So he's discrediting himself to cripple my argument? Tell me, witness. You claim to have been in the cemetery on some auxiliary business. Can you elaborate? That's right. Grave robbing, to be precise. As you know, Lowgate Cemetery is at the rear of Barclay Prison. So among students at the university, it had a reputation for being haunted by the ghosts of condemned convicts. Grave robbing, you say? Yes. Exhuming fresh corpses to sell was reasonably lucrative. Of course, I never laid a finger on any valuables buried with the dead. So you were one of the so-called resurrectionists, which is a particularly unpleasant scourge on society. Actually, my fellows and I went by another name, the repurposers. That is quite beyond the pale! You would invite divine retribution, sir! Yes, well, I think I suffer retribution enough. The Daily Circus eventually unearthed my name and put it in print. Oh, wait, that gives him a motive. It caused me a great many headaches. In the end, I had to leave the university. That was the only paper with the bad grades to identify me unambiguously, I might add. I see. Out of interest, who drew the illustration for this article? Ah, yes, that was the reporter who exposed me. He sketched that right in front of me as I described the scene. Obviously, as time ticked on, I bitterly regret what I've done. Claiming to have seen something I never truly saw. Foolish. Very foolish. Well, counsel for the defense, you may proceed to the cross-examination now. I heard my rice go off and I want to get my food, but we're so close to getting the truth.
Hold it!
Strange happening at Lowgate Cemetery, which you now deny. Not entirely. I ran to fetch the police at the time, you know. I was shaking like a leaf. But they didn't believe a word of it. In fact, I was very nearly arrested myself. You went to the papers instead? I started big with the London news, but unsurprisingly, they didn't want to know either. In the end, though, it was reporters from the gossip rags, the gutter press, that came to get my story. And it spread like the plague through the capital, as gossip-hungry Londoners lapped up the tale. The story was in every single paper at the time, with the exception of some broadsheets. And yet only 2 or 3 of them actually interviewed me personally. Most of the accounts turned to be very interpretive ghost stories. What about the article in the Daily Circus? That particular journalist found me at my dormitory. I don't know how, but he discovered my name. So I recounted him exactly what had happened that night. And from your description, he drew this illustration? Precisely. And that's how I learned that the condemned man was the infamous professor. Because the reporter told me so. I had no idea myself, you see. Newspaper reporters are wont to snoop around in matters that don't concern them. So the scene portrayed in the illustration is accurate, then? Well...
Hold it!
This article, you mean? Published in the Daily Circus. Yes, somebody informed the dean that it was my name that appeared in the article. And carelessly let slip that night after night, I was digging up graves. Hardly a model student, you might say. The university's reputation was It was defiled, and I was expelled as a result. Dieu, I have no idea. And having been run out of university, you found employment in a somewhat specialized trade. You combine your knowledge of science with knowledge of stage magic. Create various experiment machines intended to demonstrate never-before-seen technology. And use those deceptive machines to trick the government and private investors into giving you money. Professor Albert Harebree was just your laziest victim, wasn't he? Whatever are you talking about? I have no recollection of doing any of the sort. What's Dripper up to? Why would he suddenly change his tune and recant his claim? I wonder if perhaps it's because his circumstances have changed him. What circumstances? Well, if he admits to having seen the professor emerging alive from his grave 10 years ago, it will expose a secret in Dr. Sith's path that she desperately wants to hide. Yes, of course. If Drebber and Dr. Sith are working together now, then if Drebber were to betray her, there would be no reason for her to continue to cooperate. In that case, there's only one way around it. I'll have to prove he really did see it. Prove he really did see the professor's corpse coming back from the dead, as he originally claimed. Is that where I used the camera?
Objection!
Yeah, I figured that was too easy. What do you people want from me? What do you fucking people want from me? My phone's going off on a goddamn blitz. And I needed to stop. Oh, I think I know why it's going all blitz now. Oh, why are people like this? Sorry, one of the accounts I'm following is also a claim sale account, and they're just like posting a bunch of pictures. I was wondering why I got like freaking 3 buzzes in one go. Christ! We'll just take a quick glance. I'll worry about it after stream. Yeah. Okay. First spot of moonlighting. Illustration on the newspaper was based on what I witnessed that night.
Hold it!
What are you talking about? I think I explained already, didn't I? Lowgate Cemetery is at the rear of Barclay Prison. Those renowned among us students at the university for being haunted by the ghosts of condemned convicts. For some absurd reason, I was scared of the graveyard at night. And as a result, only too willingly to believe that nonsense about the dead coming back to life. You said you actually saw it! I said what I seen in my mind's eye. After all, resurrection is impossible, isn't it? You'd have to be unhinged to think otherwise. Unless, of course, you have some evidence that proves that I encountered the professor that night. I do. I don't know. Is there any material evidence that could show he really did see the professor? If we had anything at all, Mr. Naruhodo. I know. I need to present it against that irritatingly backtracking statement of his. The point is, that night was a pivotal moment in my life. Wait. Do I need to get more evidence from Tuspel?
Hold it!
That young woman being Madame Tuspel's, of course. Precisely, I must say. I didn't expect to run into her again like this 10 years later. As I have explained, I went by the name published in the article and... Oh my god, I found the man! Yes, the article in the Daily Circus, I think you said. I was a poor student with barely a penny to my name at the time. And the young lady put £5 in front of me. So you readily consent to having a waxwork of yourself made, and gave permission for it to be put on display. I did. I should sell what little I had to sell, I concluded. Ah, oui. I remember now. I purchased something else from you that day, n'est-ce pas? Did you? I can't say I remember. What was it, madam? His camera. Ah. Oh yes, I made a point of taking it with me whenever I made an excursion into any cemetery. You took a camera with you, sir? To what end? To record the details of the body I disinterred. But I had no intention of ever visiting Graveyard again after that night, so I sold it. I see. But I still have it, monsieur. It is part of the special exhibit in my House of Horrors. I am very meticulous about such details. It is the Tuspel's way. It would seem, then, this is the very camera Mr. Dreba took with him to Lowgate Cemetery on the night in question. Yes, interesting. So now do I present it?
Objection.
What? Okay. I know I have to present the camera somewhere. Am I stupid?
Hold it.
Do I have to press again? Maybe do I have to examine it again?
Hold it.
I suppose you look normal. Is there anything else on this camera? No? There's already the blood. We already opened this one up and there was no glass. It's where the photographic plate goes, I think, isn't it? Yes, that's right. Isn't it incredible to think that this is the actual camera Mr. Trevor used that night? I certainly never imagined a piece of evidence would be on display in Madame Tussbell's. It's very keen on everything being as true as life as possible, though, isn't she? Oh, it just didn't do anything. Alright, fine.
Hold it.
By moonlighting, you mean grave robbing, don't you? Surely you only need to look at the graveyard scene and my appearance to gauge the answer to that. A lantern and spade. Who on earth would want to buy a dead body? Any major hospital. A hospital? In order to better understand the human body, the study of anatomy is crucial to medical science. But there isn't a hospital in the world that has enough specimens to work with. Though obviously they can't openly express an interest in obtaining more by dubious means. As aspiring scientists, we young research students have no money to work with, as I'm sure you can imagine. So we made arrangements with a hospital via some of our medical student acquaintances. We would never take anything of value from the graves. This is all for the furtherance of science, you see. That is what we told ourselves every time we stole into the grave at night, spade in hand. You realize body snatching is a serious crime. If you were caught, you could expect the gravest of consequences. We students were caught between the hammer and the anvil. We needed funds for research. Professor Harebrain said exactly the same. I'm quite speechless at the apparent levity in which you've revealed this abhorrent behavior. Well, if you wanted to know why I was there at Lowgate Cemetery, that's the reason. But I never expected it to end the way it did. That I regret to this day.
Hold it.
Strange happening. Oh, god damn it. Let me just press everything again, just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Because I don't know if they would do a react on each other.
Hold it.
Did I just see his eyes change color? Or am I crazy?
Hold it!
It doesn't help that Sif's face does not change at all.
Hold it!
Okay, so obviously, okay, so I have everything I need. I have to present something. I have to prove that he saw the professor. And it's like, it's telling me that I should be using the camera, because the camera has blood on it, which means that's the professor's actual blood. So that would prove the story. Nope, that's not what I wanted.
Objection!
Let me go back through my evidence. So I need to prove that what he saw was real. I can't use the article as proof because he's trying to discredit the article. We can't prove the waxwork is of the professor that he saw because Madame Tespels won't unlock it. The camera has blood. What am I missing?
Objection!
No. Sorry, Mr. Trevor, but I don't believe that. Don't believe what? Your latest claim. You did see the professor on the night 10 years ago. Oh dear. We seem to be at odds. But I was there, and you were not. I know what I didn't see. The illustration with this article was drawn based upon what you told the journalist that you witnessed. A figure emerging from a tomb, wearing an iron mask. Yes, when the killer was tried 10 years ago, it was decided in the closed court's ruling that the man would wear the mask to hide his identity. It wasn't to be removed, even during his execution and his subsequent burial. Not even the prison wardens were to see the man's face. But obviously, the provision of this mask was not public knowledge. So, Mr. Trevor, as you just heard, a lowly student of the University of London certainly wouldn't have known about the condemned man's mask. So unless you actually seen the professor that night, it's inconceivable that the artist would have included the mask in the illustration. That part I didn't know. Order, order! Well, Mr. Trevor? It's a vile scene, isn't it? If you look closely. And as I've already been at pains to point out, I was utterly petrified. Which is why I had in my head that I've seen such a blood-curdling sight. But afterwards, I came to my senses and realized that I have been mistaken.
You're still saying you didn't see it?
If you're stubbornly sticking to that story, witness, then amend your testimony to explain exactly how you think your eyes deceived you. Of course. Only too happy to oblige.
Can't believe he's still not going to concede to the point.
What I in fact witnessed was a fellow grave robber at work.
Hold it!
A fellow grave robber?
What are you talking about?
Well, I wasn't the only one busy in the cemetery that night, you know. Other body snatchers were at work. Of course, when I saw one emerging from the hole he dug, my heart very nearly stopped. So that's the terrifying sight I actually saw, you see. You're claiming that it was just another student on equally insalubrious business as yourself. Many of the medical students would wear metal masks to protect them from bacteria during dissections. Clearly, the fellow was using such a mask to protect his anonymity, wouldn't you say?
Objection!
But there's more to the story, isn't there? The article goes on to say, next second, a gunshot rang out suddenly from behind. The bullet pierced the resurrected man's chest, whose breath instilled once more. You might assume that the sexton discovered the miscreants at work, perhaps, and fired upon one of them. If a grave digger had shot someone in the cemetery, I think it might have been rather big news, my lord. Ah, yes, well, I can only assume it was an embellishment. Oh?
Excuse me!
Excuse me! Madam Test spells. Don't take it out on Mr. Holmes.
Oh la la! Pardon? I was lost in my thoughts.
Would it be fair to say that Mr. Driver's last remark was significant to you in some way?
I thought it was a little strange, that is all. How Monsieur Driver could claim this now. If you don't mind me saying, madam, what are you talking about? Well, when I met you 10 years ago at your university dormitory, you recounted to me about your adventures in the cemetery, no? Including the gunshot.
Stop.
You might want to watch your tongue, you know?
Objection!
Have a care, Trevor. That's no way to speak to a lady.
Please, Madam Tuspels. Carry on.
Of course. According to what Monsieur Trevor told me at the time, he did hear a gunshot from behind him and the bullet hit the condemned man.
I said nothing of the sort.
No, you were very explicit about the details. About the mask that the figure was wearing. And the blood that splattered over you when he was shot.
Enough. Shut up, woman. You're making this all up. That will do. Mr. Drebber?
Yes.
You refute the account just given by Madam Tuspels?
I have no recollection of ever saying those things.
Come on! Do you really expect us to believe you? Control yourself, counsel. I will not permit baseless accusations in my courtroom.
Right.
Under the circumstances, I think it's best that you supplement your testimony with a statement to clarify your position on this, witness.
Very well.
There's no gunshot from behind me, nor any splatter. Ha ha! Ha ha! Ha ha! Ha ha! You funny. You a funny man.
Objection!
Mr. Drebber, do you remember this camera?
But that is a camera from that fateful night.
Yes, we borrowed it from the House of Horrors. It's the camera you took with you to the cemetery that night, Mr. Drebber.
And? Is that supposed to be significant? This kind of camera is rarely seen in our homeland, so my colleague and I were keen to examine it closely. We noticed that the lens extends forward on the ends of some at the ends of some bellows. Like this.
Hold it!
What's that? There, just on the bellows. It looks like a dark red stain. That's right. It's a rather conspicuous mark here on the bellows, in fact. Good lord, are you suggesting? Yes, my lord. It would appear to be a splatter of blood. Something that could be confirmed with a simple chemical test. Isn't that right, Dr. Sith? It would be difficult to determine if it was human blood and not the blood of some animal. But yes, to test whether or not it's blood at all is simple enough. I propose that Madame Tuspel's testimony was correct. And on the night in question 10 years ago, you were splattered with blood from the gunshot wound. Well, And that furthermore, you really did witness the condemned professor emerging from his tomb. There's simply no way you could have forgotten such a traumatic experience. In other words, the only explanation is that you're trying to hide the fact that you saw the professor that night.
Objection!
Why? Why would he want to do that? Well, not for his own gain, it would seem. For whose then? Who could benefit? Mr. Trevor is obviously lying in order to protect somebody. My goodness, he's shielding someone? Yes, my lord. And clearly, it's someone who doesn't want the truth about the professor coming back to life to be exposed. Well, counsel, who is it then? Who is this witness trying to protect by lying about what he saw that night?
Take that!
The obvious answer is Dr. Sith. Sith? Whatever do you mean? Imagine if the convict who's been sentenced to death was not in fact killed. Imagine if that was to come to light. What are you insinuating? And imagine if the convict in question was the country's most hated mass murderer. If it was the professor. That would be an unprecedented scandal.
Objection!
This is beyond a joke. Need I point out that the dead cannot come back to life? What you're suggesting would mean that the execution never actually happened. Yes, that's exactly what it would mean.
Objection!
Once a man is sentenced to the gallows, he hangs. No one could escape, not in Great Britain.
Objection!
The fact is, there was a witness to the fact that this man did escape his hanging. If that were really true, counsel, the implications of misconduct would not stop at the supervising coroner. It would taint the honor of the entire judiciary, from the ground up. And it's exactly because of those monumental repercussions that Dr. Sith would consent to any demand made of her by someone who threatened to expose the secret. Even if that meant being complicit in a crime. You mean... I mean that Dr. Sith wasn't collaborating in Mr. Trevor's wicked scheme. She was coerced into collaborating in order to protect her decade-old secret. She switched the dead body of Mr. Asman with the waxwork model and fabricated the autopsy report. Oh, here comes the leg. He's angry. Lord Von Zeeks! Pray, forgive my freshly filled hallowed chalice, and a whole raft of utter discourtesies now. Goodness me! It's just the sort of tall tale Londoners would enjoy, I grant you. An executed killer rising from the dead, a Scotland Yard cover-up, a conspiracy at the highest levels. So let me ask you one thing. What's that? If the condemned man really did emerge from his tomb that night, only to be shot in the chest, who pulled the trigger and disposed of him forever? Well, I have no idea at the moment. You have too little information to work that out at present, I think. I couldn't agree more. The Old Bailey is no place for wild fantasies. And have you considered this, my learned Nipponese friend? Considered what? Do you realize what a dangerous endeavor it would be to coerce this woman to such criminal activity? It's tantamount to declaring war on the entire British police force and judiciary. Quite. Hard to imagine any sum of money being offered for research could warrant it. To rely on some stage deception when so much is at stake would be madness. Well, I suppose. And this was no petty crime either. The victim was murdered. A man who's already invested money in the venture and would be instrumental in all future profits too. Yes, I had no reason to kill Mr. Asmund at all. Or are you forgetting that his death results in me receiving not a single penny? The court is already aware of the contract between myself and the victim, no? There is a contract, that's very true. The motive for this case runs deep, though. I can feel it. Using threats to force the head of the forensics investigation team to cooperate is extreme. Especially for a government grant he has no guarantee of receiving in the first place. If the research grant was the aim, taking Mr. Asmund's life would have made no sense anyway. Which means, Mr. Driver's motive wasn't money at all. He was just trying to kill Mr. Asmund. But why? What was his motive then? Your time is up, my learned friend. I'd say you have one last chance before the jury loses their patience with the charade. Let's see if you can back up your heady proposal, shall we? He moved out of the way! How do you explain why this engineer would throw all caution to the wind and threaten his own country? At this point, I'm not prepared to listen to more of this outlandish conjecture without proof. So, counsel, present your evidence, and don't fuck it up because you only have 2 chances. Alright, who exactly was Mr. Asmund the Dripper? There is a connection there that no one's seen yet. And I'm going to have to present 2 pieces of evidence to show what it is. Yes, my lord. The evidence that establishes a motive and explains why the witness wanted the victim dead is right here. Yoink. Excuse me? Oh, wrong button. It's this newspaper article, my lord. That was written 10 years ago. And every detail has been examined already. What can it possibly tell us? That drivel should never have been written. It's the typical gutter press nonsense that means nothing. Yes, on its own, it isn't particularly significant. However, when considered alongside another piece of evidence, it will completely explain your motive for wanting Mr. Asmund dead. What other evidence? Counsel, you will present your supplementary evidence without delay. The evidence, which when cross-referenced with the newspaper article, establishes a motive for the deed.
Take that!
It's his contract, my lord. Mr. Drebber, this is the contract you signed with Mr. Asmund. Yes, that's right. The very document, in fact. That proves that I have no reason to kill the man. No, I'm afraid not. What? There's something very significant that this newspaper article and the contract have in common. Really. And is that common link that shows very clearly why you were determined to kill Mr. Odie Asmund. It seems defense has uncovered something the rest of us has missed. So, my learned friend, point out what these two pieces of evidence have in common. Where exactly is the link between this newspaper article and the contract? Yoink.
Take that!
What these two pieces of evidence have in common? The signature. A signature? The signature on the illustration that accompanies the 10-year-old article and the signature on the contract belong to the same person. What? As the court has heard, this illustration was drawn 10 years ago by the newspaper reporter who founded Mr. Dripper and interviewed him about his ordeal. If you look closely, the reporter's signature can be seen in the bottom right corner of the drawing. And if you look at the contract here, which was signed between the witness and the victim last year, you can clearly see Mr. Asman's signature at the bottom. Let me see now. Good lord, yes, they're identical! In short, the journalist who drew the illustration and wrote the article published about Mr. Dripper 10 years ago was the victim of this case, Mr. Odie Asman. Oh! Bye.
Objection!
But explain to the court why. Why would that constitute a motive for the witness to murder Asman? Well, if you think back, you'll remember that Mr. Dripper talked about the article in his testimony. Grave Robin. Yeah, because they put his name on print. The university figured out that he was grave robbing, and he could no longer follow in scientists' footsteps. At the time, you were a student of the University of London who dreamt of becoming a scientist. However, a single newspaper article changed your entire life. So Mr. Asman used to be a newspaper journalist, did he? He did, my lord. In fact, it's a widely held belief that Asman managed to position himself at the heart of his criminal network, thanks to the many dubious connections he made during his time as a reporter. So you had to give up on your dream and leave university. You lost everything. Eventually you found yourself working on the field of science, but only in the shadows. And all because of that article, written by Mr. Asman. Enough! Stop this endless drivel about my life! What? Explain yourself, Mr. Dripper. Yes, it's true. I had to leave the university as a result of that article. But it was just the straw that broke the camel's back. What do you mean? Almost every student of science in the facility was too poor to actually conduct any research. But they struggle on with their hypotheses anyway. We all did, only to have them taken by vultures. Sooner or later, you knew your ideas would be stolen and patented by some wretch or other, after all. Good gracious. Making a name for yourself as a scientist in a climate like that was a miracle only a select few geniuses could ever hope to achieve. Personally, I wasn't one of those geniuses, so it was hardly a wrench. Being forced out of the university because of Logate was the best thing that could have happened to me.
Objection!
Mr. Dripper, do you genuinely believe that? Of course I do. Who's better placed to know whether or not I possess a talent for science than me? I'm sorry to say that your words don't ring true at all. How dare you? And I have evidence to prove it. how are you in a position to say anything about me? I don't know you from Adam. Fine. If you think you have evidence, go ahead. Show it. What could you possibly have to disprove the idea that I was happy to leave university because I lacked talent?
Take that!
Do you remember this, Mr. Trevor? We found it at your workshop. Is that a Royal Society trophy for excellence in science? Society. What exactly is this trophy, Council? It's the greatest honor that can be bestowed on a young scientist, my lord. There is no higher accolade. It recognizes emerging talent and promises a bright future. Good gracious! Your prospects for the future were excellent, weren't they, Mr. Trevor? Because even then, you were a genius in your field. But you lost everything. You had no more future. Your talents would go to waste. All as a result of this one newspaper article. I don't know when you realized who Mr. Asman was, but when it dawned on you that he's the very same journalist who 10 years ago ruined your life, it's abundantly clear that you had no intention of forgiving the man. The truth is, finally, he's going to fold. Fine. Clearly this has run its course now. What? I admit it. All of it. What? What are you doing? It's exactly as the Japanese man said. I was coerced into going along with this man's plot to murder the victim. On the condition he kept my dirty secret from 10 years ago. No. Good Lord! Dr. Sith, do you realize what you're saying, woman? It's all true. That day, when I arrived at the Crystal Tower and saw the birdcage, my heart nearly stopped beating. That memory from a decade ago that I've done my best to bury deep inside myself. It was the professor again, staring me in the face. And then, before I had a chance to react, I noticed something else. There was a note tucked inside the model's jacket. Dr. Sith, you will go along with my plan. From someone who knows the truth about what really happened that night 10 years ago. All the instructions were there in the note. Every detail was meticulously written out. I had no choice but to do what it said. I made the necessary alterations to the scene and fabricated the autopsy report as instructed. There was really no other choice. It had to be done to protect the judiciary. I can only apologize now. Why on earth would you buckle now? Well, there's no point trying to hide anymore, is there? I would have done anything to stop it coming out, even collaborated in the murder. The great lie about that execution 10 years ago has been exposed. Whatever happens, I'm finished. So then, Mr. Drebber, what do you say to that? Your accomplice has admitted everything. Surely it goes without saying. You admit your part in it too, then? I admit nothing at all. What? Have you forgotten that the kinesis machine was ripped to shreds by an explosion? Short of me admitting to a crime, there's really no possible way for you to prove I did anything wrong. Gonna have some problems. Order, order, order! Whatever this man says, I admit everything. He threatened to expose my secret, so I went along with his plan. And Lord Von Zeeks? Yes. I hope you'll accept my apologies. What happens next is in your hands, of course. I have heard more than enough now. I hereby present the final findings of this court. This trial is not the proper forum in which to pursue the alleged wrongdoings of Mr. Drever. The defendant is Professor Albert Harebrain. Very true, and it slipped my mind. Isn't he one of your closest friends? As the court has heard, Dr. Sith has admitted to the allegations brought by the defense, thereby absolving the defendant of any possible guilt. You mean... At the present time, it is the conclusion of this court that the defendant was not involved in any wrongdoing. Does the prosecution have any objection? None, my lord. Oh, congratulations, Mr. Naruhodo! You've proven Professor Harebrain's innocence! Without further ado, then, the adjudication. Unless the prosecution or defense has any other matters to discuss. I don't know. This doesn't feel quite right. Why did Dr. Sith suddenly admit to it like that? Is everything alright, Mr. Naruhodo? Like you said before, the way to the trial is set to end now. The judge will certainly deliver a verdict of not guilty. But is that really what we want? What the defense should be pushing for now is...
Objection!
Defense objects to the trial ending at this time, my lord. I beg your pardon. We demand one final testimony. What? You do realize I'm about to adjudicate in favor of your client, I presume? What are you playing at now, my Nipponese friend? Why would you want to obstruct the conclusion of the trial at this point? No defense lawyer in his right mind would do that. Naruhodo, what exactly are you thinking? The truth. The whole truth. And a way to bring it all out in the open. Right. Yes, in hindsight. Oh, so this is what Sholmes was warning about. I wonder if Sholmes is proud of us right now, because he's in the gallery. I'm sure Mr. Sholmes knew. He must have deduced that this would happen. Yes, I'm here in court to advocate for my client, and to secure an acquittal. Obviously. But that's not all. I believe that I have a duty to the court. Pursue the whole truth of the case, until every last detail is laid bare. And that is why the defense calls for further testimony from Dr. Sith. Testimony from me? About what? About the nature of your collaboration with Mr. Enoch Drever. Huh. And in case it escapes your attention, I've already admitted to everything I did. The whole truth has already been revealed. So stop wasting everyone's time. As his lordship made very plain, your client will get the acquittal you wanted for him. There's simply no point in protracting this business further with another tedious cross-examination.
Objection!
Bye! Pray forgive my careless handling of that hallowed bottle. I slipped. I don't know why that line's funny. The sarcasm dripping from it. That's what you call it? Well, what is your objection, Lord Von Zeeks? The prosecution also calls for a supplementary testimony from the witness. Don't be stupid. If there is more to this case than has yet to come to light, then I will join my learned friend in pursuing the facts until the bitter end. Yo, what? Lord Von Zeeks. This is most irregular, to say the least. However, as the prosecution also calls for it, I will uphold the request. Dr. Sith, you will testify for the court, explain the full extent of your involvement in the murder apparently committed by Mr. Drebber. Very well. It all began at the scene where I saw the waxwork in the note tucked inside its jacket. The actual body of the victim, as indicated in the note's instructions, was beneath the experimentation stage. The body has to be arranged in certain ways to implicate the defendant, which was my job. I enlisted the help of the entire forensic investigation team to adjust the scene appropriately. The truth about the execution 10 years ago is a state secret of the highest level. I had to protect it. So I was right. The stage and the machine were all specially designed for the deception. So it seems, and all meticulously prepared. You did well to see through it. You're a very shrewd boy. So kind of you to say that. And what about this autopsy report then? All I did was record the location of the body as being in the Crystal Tower instead of under the stage. That's all? That's a terrible corruption! Only my team were aware of the deceit, and then only under my explicit instructions. Nobody else at Scotland Yard knew anything about it, I assure you. You must be thankful for small mercies, I suppose. Well, I believe that testimony has clarified everything. There is no particular need for a cross-examination, I would say. No, I disagree. Can't shake the feeling that something's wrong. Look at that expression on Dr. Sith's face. Defense is right to cross-examine any witness following testimony. What is it about you Japanese that make you all so doggedly persistent? Very well then. If you so desire, counsel, proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. They'll be the experimentation stage had to be arranged in certain ways to implicate the defendant.
Hold it!
When you say arranged, I presume you mean with this? Yes. The instructions in the engineer's note said something along the lines of fabricate some evidence to make it clear that Harebrain alone could have killed Asmund. So, you mean that that was your doing? I fetched Harebrain's ridiculous screwdriver from the stage and took it with me, alone, to the abyss under the stage where the birdcage had fallen. Alone, Doctor. I didn't feel it would be appropriate to involve anyone else in the particular part of the deception. There was a void under the stage where I found the birdcage lying in the dirt. I approached it, leaned down, and slowly opened it up. Then I took the screwdriver in both hands and plunged it into the man's chest. Then you noted that in your fake autopsy report as a fictitious cause of death. Exactly. So, the actual cause of death was the trauma resulting from the 30-foot drop. My word. What is it, Mrs. Zato? Something about Dr. Sith's last statement is playing on my mind, that's all. Yes, mine too. Dr. Sith! There's really no need to shout. I can hear you perfectly well. The defense calls for you to add what you just said to your formal testimony. Oh? Which part? Oh, god damn it. We're just gonna save this. I'm gonna mess it up! She did to the victim and the real cause of death. The problem is it doesn't actually specify. Oh no, it does specify the cause of death being the piercing heart. But wait. Did she plant this, or? You stabbed Mr. Asman in the chest, that part. Fine, if that's what you really want. But there's really no need to point. The prosecution concurs. Very well, you will supplement your testimony now, witness. If you wish, my lord. So it was you who stabbed Asman with this? Yes, far easier to dissection, I assure you. No precision required. What a welcome change. The victim died instantly from a snapped neck. All I did was carry out the instructions I've been given. As unflinching as ever, no doubt. I imagine you didn't bat an eyelid when you drove the weapon into his body. There was no need to bat my eyelids. And what else did you do to twist the facts? Remind the court, why don't you? If you wish.
Hold it!
So what happens if I switch it then? I mean, what you did with this, correct? I was merely carrying out the engineer's instructions. In his words, fabricate some evidence to make it clear that hair braid alone. Wait, so why can't I skip this text? I actually can't skip any of this text. There's something here in this testimony. So I can have her change it. Dr. Sith, what you said before about the real cause of death, I believe that may be significant, so could you change your supplementary statement to explain that instead? Very well.
Hold it!
You're quite sure of that? It was a result of a broken neck? Yes. As a professional, that was more than apparent. You'd never know just by looking at the photograph of the victim though, would you? No, that's very true. Obviously not. Which is precisely why coroners are needed to determine the actual facts. Yes, assuming they can be trusted. There's no point calling her assessment into question without evidence. Let's get back to the testimony. Very well. So, do I have to press on the cause of death, actually? Because that's the whole reason why she had that sit in secret. She actually can't tell if they're dead because of the broken neck thing?
Objection.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Objection.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Eh. What do you want me to disprove? I don't... What are they seeing that I'm not seeing? It's like, you can either disprove the cause of death, or I can disprove...
Objection.
What do you call it? The stab wound.
Objection.
I think I had it correct before. This is difficult. Why am I not able to understand like half of this case's description? Dr. Sith, what you said before about what you did to the victim's body, I believe that may be significant, so could you change your supplementary statement to explain that instead? What am I not understanding?
Objection.
Huh? I've got a nasty feeling that this inconsistency points to an extremely uncomfortable truth. Ooh, the music. What on earth is the matter, Counsel? Have you lost your tongue? I apologize, my lord. Dr. Sith, in that last statement of yours, there's just one point that seems to defy explanation. Out with it, my learned friend. There's an obvious inconsistency between your description and this photograph, which shows the victim in the birdcage following the events that led to his death.
Objection!
The court has already examined the photograph in detail. There's nothing new we can learn from it.
Objection.
Yes, we have already considered it, that's true. But we now know the facts to be different. What do you mean? I believe we should let the defense explain. Where in this photograph would we see the alleged inconsistency with the witness's statement? La blood, right?
Take that!
Look closely at the blood stain on the victim's chest. It clearly extends in a downward direction towards the man's feet. Oh, the direction of the blood! And why is that significant, counsel? If the victim was stabbed moments before the kinesis machine was set in motion, that's entirely expected. Of course! No, that's not what happened! Exactly, my lord. Dr. Sith made it very clear in her testimony just now. The point at which she stole the Professor Harebrain's screwdriver and stabbed the victim was after the grand deception was set in motion, when the birdcage had fallen down below the stage out of sight. From the shape of it, it's clear that the birdcage would have fallen on its side after the 30-foot drop. And if the victim had really been stabbed while it's inside the birdcage in that position, the blood from the wound would have spread out equally in all directions. For it to have formed the longitudinal appearance we see in the picture, it's inconceivable. Given that the victim's blood seeped vertically downward from the wound, it must be the case that when you stabbed Mr. Asbin, he was standing up. In short, Dr. Sith, your latest testimony was a total fabrication. I knew it. I was right. Now that I have identified that contradiction, there's only one way to explain the facts. We've all been under a great misapprehension here. What? What sort of misapprehension? Dr. Sith? You claimed you were coerced into helping Mr. Drebber as a result of the note he left at the waxwork. You claimed you made changes to the scene of the crime to implicate the defendant. And you claimed that you authored a fake autopsy report to cover your tracks. But one of those claims is an out-and-out lie. Because the question of what the bloodstain really tells us has only one possible answer. If that is the case, what is it, man? Counsel, you've clearly struck upon a revelation. Now tell the court what it is. Which part of Dr. Sif's story is shown to be a lie by the contradiction in her testimony? Probably the stabbing of the victim? The answer is very simple if you consider the sequence of events. If when the victim was stabbed, the blood from the wound seeped downwards as it did, we can be sure that the victim must have been either sitting or standing upright at the time. But as you rightfully pointed out, the birdcage would have fallen on its side when it fell beneath the stage. Yes, it would, which tells us that the victim must have been in that position of his own accord.
Objection!
That's impossible. The man was dead, remember? No, that is a misapprehension. When the birdcage fell from the stage into the void below, it must have hit the ground with considerable force. But Mr. Asman didn't die in the fall. He probably lost consciousness for a while, but when he came round, he got to his feet to climb out of the cage. Just as Dr. Sith appeared. If the victim was in fact alive at this point of time, it changes everything. Mr. Odiasman's killer wasn't the defendant, Professor Albert Harebrain. Nor was it the mastermind behind the stage trickery, Mr. Enoch Drebber. It was you, Dr. Courtney Sith! Order! 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 Can this possibly be true? Have you been taking me for a fool? It was you, was it? You killed him? You hoped that by admitting to being an accomplice in Mrs. Drebber's scheme, the trial would end. Before you were accused of a far worse crime. Cold-blooded murder. Oh, do shut up! You're so desperate now, you're making this all up. As if I would do something like that.
Objection!
I assure you that the defense is not desperate, Doctor. Mr. Naruhodo has established facts using evidence and logic alone. Huh. Logic? Don't make me laugh. Sadly, your logic has a gaping hole in it. What do you mean? I'd have thought it was obvious. A motive, boy. You're lacking a motive. What possible reason would I have to kill Mr. Asman? Asman was involved in any number of criminal activities, from coercion to theft to murder. There's no known connection to Dr. Sith there. I'm rather relieved to say it does seem somewhat far-fetched. True, there is no obvious motive. There's still something in the back of my mind. I feel sure I've seen something somewhere that hints at why the coroner might have done this. Yes, I might have tampered with the crime scene and concocted a fake report, but murdering someone for no reason is a very different story.
Objection!
No, when you question what possible reason you could have for wanting to kill Mr. Asman, something did come to mind. What? What was it, Counsel? Enlighten the court at once. Yes, we saw it yesterday, didn't we? Something that seemed strange, but we had no reason to suspect it at the time. You think I fucking remember? It's a particular object that explains why Dr. Sith would have wanted to kill Asman. The Iron Mask, right? The scalpels! Oh. It's the Iron Mask. You've lost me. Huh? Oh wait, is it not? Sorry, Mr. Naruhodo, but why the Iron Mask? Well, of all the things I saw yesterday, it left a great impression, so... Clearly, you have no idea what you're talking about. I think I must have said the wrong thing. Is it actually the scalpels? Forgive the interruption, Dr. Sith, but what my colleague meant to say was scalpels. Perhaps that makes a little more sense to you. Oh, of course. Did you say scalpels? It would appear that the word has struck a chord, Doctor. You. Come on, out with it. It was yesterday when we visited your laboratory. This big, an accounting ledger. So what does scalpels have to do with it? $500 scalpels in a month? At first, I wondered what on earth you could be using that many scalpels for. But actually, I realize now it's not the scalpels themselves that are significant. It's the money for them, disappearing every month from the department's accounts. Asman's criminal organization relies heavily on extortion for its funding. Tracing the money from the forensics investigation team account to find out where it was going would be extremely straightforward. 10 years ago, when Mr. Asman was still a journalist and wrote this article about Mr. Trevor, he may well have stumbled upon information as he was researching this story. Information relating to Dr. Sif's darkest secret that he would use to rack money from her for the next decade. Your darkest secret? Good lord, you mean... I don't know what happened on the night of that execution 10 years ago, but clearly the opportunity to rid yourself of that menace was too tempting to pass up. So in the end, you weren't coerced at all, were you? You did this entirely of your own free will. You stabbed Mr. Asman in the heart with all your might. Silenced the blackmailer who knew your darkest secret forever. You'll never understand. None of you. What we've had to keep covering up all these long years. I'm not gonna lie, that threw me for a loop. I was not expecting that at all. I'm actually surprised Trevor was actually protecting her, though. As very little of the machine remains after it was ripped apart by the bomb, the truth of this case can never be properly established unless you speak out. And if you decide not to, it's very possible that Courtney Sith will escape punishment for her crimes. Please, sir, own up to what you've done and tell the court the truth about what happened. 10 years ago, you told the truth, and you were robbed of a bright and successful future as a result. I can certainly understand your bitterness and your consternation now. However, this is surely the chance you've been waiting for, to sever the hold that fate's had over you all these years. Holy shit! Super high voltage instantaneous kinesis? I mean, really. It's the addle-brained mock scientists that are the worst, you know? They don't recognize the fact that they don't have talent. They can't even get that right. And so, they end up chasing impossible dreams, having unbridled faith in their abilities. They go on and on about their wonderful hypotheses, stupid eyes shining like a little child's. They make me sick. I can't abide their foolishness. Careful, Mr. Trevor. I was particularly pleased with the kinesis machine. It made for quite a show, didn't it? So you admit it. You admit that it was nothing more than a sham made for the purpose of killing the victim. Yes, I admit it. I did it all in the name of revenge. Revenge for the future that Mr. Asman's article has deprived you of 10 years earlier. The revenge you sought didn't stop at Asman, did it? Which is where that very particular waxwork comes in. Yes, I see. The condemned victim that you saw rising from the grave in Lowgate Cemetery 10 years ago. If your account of those events were all true, then obviously Scotland Yard couldn't afford to acknowledge what has happened. Even if it meant discrediting a bright young man and crushing any future career he might have had. So your plan required that you abduct that particular waxwork model in order to exact your revenge on Scotland Yard as well, or on Dr. Sith to be precise. It was a year ago now. By some extraordinary twist of fate, Asman turned up at my workshop. He didn't remember who I was, of course. He just wanted to employ my services as an engineer. And he happened to have a paper with him. An article on the front page caught my eye. About the coroner who'd handled that bogus autopsy being appointed head of a new forensic team. When I learned that news, my cognition processes started to devise the plan. What a horrid tale. He robbed me of my future, so I wanted to use the man's own wiles against him for revenge. And have that rotten Scotland Yard eaten out of my hand at the same time. I wanted them all to suffer the same humiliation I had to suffer. Your actions against those who ruined your future would justify as revenge, at least to yourself. Certainly, no one has the right to destroy another's prospects, especially for purely selfish gain. And yet, in carrying out your own plan, you did exactly that to someone else, didn't you? Did I? Professor Harebrain's only crime was passion for his hypothesis. But you had no compunction about sacrificing his future to effect your revenge. You knew that he would be forever branded a failure and a fraud. Perhaps life's treated you unfairly 10 years ago, and others' misconduct left your life in tatters. But remember this. Your own actions resulted in exactly the same thing for another perfectly innocent young man. Lord Von Zeeks, what of Dr. Sith? An immediate warrant for her arrest has been granted, and she's been remanded in custody, my lord. I presume she will face trial in the coming days, along with Mr. Drebber. A most regrettable situation indeed. She's made great contributions to her profession over the years. It really is a hard truth to swallow. However, this is a topic for some future occasion. For now, Professor Harebrain. Oh, yes? It seems there was a great deal more to your experiment than you realize. However, I think we can assume now that all of the sordid details have been brought to light. This has been a very long and profound trial, but I am pleased to say you are absolved of all guilt. This whole experience has taught me a very great but painful lesson. This dedicated scientist, this devotee of natural philosophy. I've been selfish, self-centered, and above all, a fool. Professor. I've spent my life thinking of nothing but my research. Misguidedly believed that I could do whatever I set my mind to despite my lack of talent. And the worst of it is, in the process I've caused others pain and misery. Others who are far, far greater people than I. No, Professor, that's not true. What? Don't tar yourself with the same brush as Drebber. What happened was his doing and his alone. This outcome is his fate, not yours. You're not to blame in any way. Lord Von Zeeks. And the derision with which he referred to you earlier, calling you a fool, talentless even. The man has no idea. To believe in yourself and work your fingers to the bone to realize your dreams. That's laudable, not laughable. No one has the right to deride another for such choices. Oh. Thank you, Barrack. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, yes, my lord. It is this court's expectation that you find the defendant not guilty of the charge of which he stands accused. I presume there are no objections. None for me, my lord. certainly not. This trial has really made me think, but this is the right decision. It's all been proven Hey, tongue, do you want to work right now? It's all been proven methodically and rigorously. I have no misgivings whatsoever. What's that? He's done. Easy. It all over? I don't know what's become of the yard these days. I don't recognize the place. Very well. In that case, I hereby pronounce the defendant. We got our not guilty verdict. Also, the guy next to Baron Von Zeeks literally just sat there being a nice little animation additive. That's it. Court is adjourned. It's over. That was some trial. I'll be real, this was one real weird trial. Professor, what a splendid outcome, isn't it? Oh, it is, it is! Congratulations, Professor Hairbrain. Mr. Naruhodo, Mrs. Zato, I am truly beside myself with gratitude! How can I ever thank you enough? I'm just glad it's all been cleared up. That you realize you were just caught up in a bad situation. Right now, you know, if I had that research grant money, I'd give the whole lot to you, every penny. Well, that's very kind, but I'm just a student, so... We don't need any financial reward. Your acquittal's more than enough. Oh dear. Oh, what can I do? Aha! How about this? As a memento, the paper about my hypothesis is inside. Well, just as a memento then. Thank you. I've been wondering, Professor. What are you going to do now? Oh my. Yes. What am I going to do? My hypothesis and my great machine lie in ruins. But still, it's been too long since I was last in London, so perhaps I'll enjoy some sightseeing. I must explore the great exhibition while I'm here too, and see if new inspiration hits me. Oh yes, that's a wonderful idea. I can't allow that? Barrick? Hi! Lord Von Zeeks, what are you doing in here? Barrick! I'm sorry you had to go through that, Albert. Well, if I'm honest, it was terrifying. You were like a great demon behind your bench there, snarling down on your prey. You're one of the few true friends I have. I couldn't leave it to anyone else to handle the prosecution or the defense. Sorry? Or the defense? Did I just hear that right? I always knew that you had my best interests at heart, don't worry. How about you show me around while I'm here in town? It's been a long time since we've left the university. We have a lot to catch up on now. Listen, Albert. In a few days, your acquittal will be made official. When that happens, you must head straight to Dover. I'll accompany you. What? From there, you'll cross the channel and make your way back to Germany. I've already purchased the tickets. But no! Hold on a minute, Barrick! What about the great exhibition? This is a chance of a lifetime for me! I want to look around! No sightseeing, Albert. Give up on the idea. Sometimes it's hard to see any warmth in those eyes, Barrick. Lord Von Zeeks? What's all this about? A necessary precaution. Yes, I think I understand. You do? Well, Iris told me that when you met Lord Von Zeeks at his office some days ago, he asked how Mr. Natsume was doing. Yes, that's right. I remember being surprised at the time, and thinking it was nice of him to ask. The point is, Mr. Natsume is still alive and well. Even though it's been more than 6 months now since he stood trial with the Reaper as the prosecutor. Ah, you mean the Reaper's influence doesn't stretch overseas? Those in the Reaper's sights meet their ends days or sometimes months after their acquittal. That's been the pattern up to now. But of course, we know that both Mr. Natsume and Gina were completely innocent. True. And perhaps that governs the Reaper's actions. The truly innocent are spared. But I don't want to take any chances with a close personal friend. But, Barrick! Like the mustached Nipponese, this man should leave the country without delay. That's why I'm packing him off to Germany at once. Aw, he's such a softie. Right. Does your friend-shaped package get any say in this? Goodness, was this your intention all along then, Lord Von Zeeks? In court, where people think of him as the Reaper, this man seems absolutely merciless. And yet, sometimes I feel as though I don't understand him at all. It's time to go, Albert. Back to the prison for the time being. Yes. Alright. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo. Thank you so much for everything. Not at all, Professor. It was a pleasure getting to know you. Best wishes, Professor Hairbrain. Well, once the dust is settled, you must come and visit me in Germany. Anyway, goodbye for now. He's such a big softie. Oh, crap. Hi. Now, my Nipponese friend. Oh, yes? I thought you've gone too. We have matters to discuss. Can you spare me some time? You want to talk with me? I'll be waiting in the courtroom in 10 minutes. In the courtroom? Me? Well, that was strange. For some reason, I didn't get that sense of impending doom as he walked away this time. The enigma, Baron Von Zeeks. What does he want to discuss, I wonder? The answer awaits in the courtroom, I suppose. Here goes then. I'm a little scared. I have a very unsettling feeling in my stomach. So, are you satisfied? You save a guileless scientist from a great injustice. Yes, I think so. I'm relieved at least that the man's innocence can be proven. Anyway, I imagine you've been wondering where my animosity toward you Nipponese come from. Oh, we're talking about this now? Well, at first I thought you just didn't like me. I imagine you saw me as a pretentious child from an unimportant land who has no business being here. But now, I think differently. You clearly know our ways, so I would guess that some specific incident led to your thorough dislike of my race. Will you tell me what happened, please? The professor. I thought I'd never hear that name in this courtroom again, to be honest. He took your brother's life. Clint. My brother was Clint Von Zeeks. 16 years ago, when I was still just in my teens. He was already the director of prosecutions and a key member of the judiciary. I looked up to him. He was everything I aspired to be. He was involved in the establishment of justice systems in foreign countries as well. There were exchange programs between Britain and other nations too, to share knowledge and ideas. As part of one of those programs, 3 judicial students came to Britain from your homeland, the Empire of Japan. If it was 16 years ago, then one of them could have been my father. Of course, I remember Dr. Mikotoba well. I had no idea. I was a minor at the time, training at the prosecutor's office. One day, Clint introduced me to the 3 visiting Nipponese. So, you've actually met my father. He and his colleagues were polite and amicable. They were adept at their work, exacting in their standards. It was my first encounter with the Nipponese spirit, and it made a very great impression upon me. But 6 years later, that's when it happened. The investigation was going nowhere. There was no suspects even, just an ever-growing list of victims. And in the end, my brother became one of them. The last, in fact, before the case was finally resolved. I'm so sorry, Lord Von Zeeks. Truly. Clint was always ready to put his life on the line for justice anyway. So he wouldn't have wanted it any other way. He lost his life to the killer, but it was his victory in the end. For me personally, though, it was a great loss. I found myself in a very dark place indeed. When I finally found out the killer's identity. The reason why no one has been able to catch the man sooner ceased to be such a mystery. He'd been hiding in plain sight all the time. In plain sight? Are you aware of political events 10 years ago? It was a period of extremely sensitive diplomacy between the British and Japanese empires. A new treaty was being forged, I think. Correct. The Anglo-Japanese Treaty of Friendship and Navigation was being concluded. The leaders of both countries were deep in extensive political discussions. Which is why this particular killer's appearance in court was conducted as a closed trial. If the British public has known the identity of the killer, not only would the treaty have been in jeopardy, but our 2 nations could very well ended up at war. What? A war? Between Britain and Japan? That would mean... Oh my, you mean to say the professor was...
When the trial reached its conclusion earlier, I thought to myself, yes, it's time.
Wait, are you the narrator in all the chapters?
Time for you to come face to face with this hideous monster. I borrowed the key for the mask from the proprietress of the Waxwork Museum. So see for yourselves now. Confirm it with your own eyes. The truth that's been hidden this past decade.
That's the professor?
Yes, that's him.
Until now, the thought never even crossed my mind. That the mass murderer, whose crimes shook Britain as never before, was Japanese.
Wait a minute. That face. I feel as though I've seen it somewhere. It's strangely familiar.
Father.
That's her dad?
What? Father? Kazuma! best friend, Kazuma Asogi. After a whole year, finally his memories returned. As is the
God,
copy
he's
for
ripped.
me.
Ryunosuke.
Please don't cry. I will cry if you
Hello
cry.
again,
Please don't cry. I will cry if you cry.
my friend.
Kazuma-sama!
Judicial Assistant Mikotoba. It's been a very long road. Thank you. Thank you for guiding my friend here when I could not.
It was an honor.
I knew you wouldn't die that easily. Kazuma.
I owe you thanks, too, for taking good care of that in my absence.
Oh. Karuma, great blade of the Asogi clan, passed down through the generations. When we left Japan, this sword was at my friend's side. A Japanese man's katana is his soul, and he couldn't be parted from it. But then, when the incident happened, it was Susato-san's wish that I inherit the sword, and I've kept it with me ever since, along with my memories of the friendship we shared. With this by my side, I always felt that you were watching over me somehow.
Wait, then where's your other sword that you had earlier?
I've made it. At last. Father.
Are you saying... Surely not. You mean, you knew all this time? I'm looking at it, but I still can't believe it. This mass murderer is Kazuma's father.
Kazuma-sama.
Ryunosuke, we have much to talk about, but now is not the time. I'll be seeing you.
That's all Kazuma said. Before he turned and left us there, in the courtroom.
Baron? Hey, Baron, where'd you go? There you are. So he's the living after image of the man who took my brother's life, is he? Yes, Kazuma Asogi, my best friend. 3 months ago, when Lord Strongheart introduced us, I had an inkling there was something there. Some connection. But why did Lord Strongheart do that? Why did he make Kazuma Lord Von Zeke's apprentice? And when he was suffering amnesia, too. The man was apprehended, even executed. But his legacy just won't
die. That's the sad truth. Anyway, that's all I had to say. I thank you for meeting with me as I asked. So you're gonna put the mask back on, or... 10 years ago, my grandmother took me to the railway station. We were there to meet my father from the train. For me. It was the first time I've ever seen him. Where's Suzata-san? All this is tied up with painful memories for her too. He's never talked about this with me before, though. It took time to adjust to having father around, but just when I was starting to get used to it, he called me into his study one day. He told me that a great friend of his had passed away in London, and that the friend had left behind a son, a boy 7 years my senior. Author told me the boy had made a promise to his late father, so he was studying to become a defense lawyer. I wanted to help, so I studied to become a qualified judicial assistant. As I'm sure you've worked out, that young man's name was Kazuma Azuki. So you see, that's how he and I met.
For a brief moment, my great friend had returned, only to disappear again all too soon. But in that fleeting encounter, something stirred. Something that had been dormant for a long time. As if great wheels had been set in motion. I could almost hear them creaking into life. In some ways, it was the end of a chapter. But in many, it was the start of a new one.
No, you can't end the chapter like this! No! The demasking! Yeah, so I was spoiled on Gina, and I was spoiled on Kazuma. The extent of what I was spoiled on Kazuma was that he did not die, and that he was alive. For whatever reason under Von Zeeks. I know nothing outside of that. And the only reason I was ever spoiled is because when I went to the Wikipedia to get pictures, I had accidentally come across this, and for some reason they didn't spoiler that section. They put it at the very start of the description. I'm like, huh? So yeah. I can't remember, was it 3 or 4? There's one other spoiler that I am a little apprehensive about, and I'm a little afraid to see it. I don't know when it's gonna happen. How is this only chapter 3? I have no idea. Do I even start this? I feel I can't. I would only start it and that would have to end stream. But I am like really curious of what's gonna show. I am going to look at the very first bit and then we're gonna stop stream. I hope. But I am so confused and so curious, and now I'm just wondering what the fuck's going on.
Pipe in hand, Sholmes looked down at the thick, rolling fog outside our window. I wonder exactly how many mysteries are out there, hidden within this bed of fog, he said.
Redheads?
Indeed, a most bizarre incident, born of a curious advertisement. A hellhound's mad gallop through the shadows of a serial murder, an executed man's graveyard resurrection in the dead of night. And a commonplace killing in a small, forgotten room at the edge of town. There is, naturally, always another side to every case, of which most remain ignorant. And it is that other side which compels me to the scene of the crime, Wilson. So quickly now, take your hat and let's be on our way, my dear fellow. For our adventure is not over yet. Come, the game is afoot.
Wait, that's it? That's it? That's it? What? Who? What? Huh?
8 days after that earth-shattering trial and Kazuma's regaining his memory, we were in the foyer of one of London's most luxurious hotels, the Great Waterloo Hotel. Oh god, it's an actual hotel. Okay, no, I'm no. If I start this, I'm not stopping for at least 3 hours, and I can't afford that. I literally can't afford that. I can't afford it. I am so confused. I am so curious. I am still reeling on the fact that that was only chapter 3 and we only have 2 more chapters. I don't know what's gonna happen. I will try to see if I can get back on this on Friday, because now I am morbidly curious. I'm gonna go yell at Nate in my DMs later, because he's the only one I know who plays the game, and he's the one who plays the game. Whatever. I swear to God, if I have nightmares because of the professor, we will have problems. And I'm just gonna bury this game until the end of the earth. I'm gonna go eat my dinner. I'm gonna go play some Pal World off in the side. I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna restart my stream, so I will see you guys later. We do have raid tomorrow. We'll do raid. Actually, I think Matt's awake right now. Yeah, we have raid tomorrow, and then I'll see how the week goes. You know, as I always say. Y'all have a good night. Take care. I'm gonna go eat my sushi in peace. And then contemplate about my life choices now. Alright, y'all have a good night. Bye.